On March 20, 1834, Isaac Hale swore an affidavit about his son-in-law, the Mormon prophet Joseph Smith. The affidavit was sworn before Justice of the Peace Charles Dimmen of Susquehana County, Pennsylvania. The testimony of Isaac Hale is as follows. I first became acquainted with Joseph Smith, Jr. in November 1825. He was at that time in the employ of a set of men who were called money diggers, and his occupation was that of seeing, or pretending to see by means of a stone placed in his hat, and his hat closed over his face. In this way, he pretended to discover minerals and hidden treasure. His appearance at this time was that of a careless young man, not very well educated, and very saucy and insolent to his father. Smith and his father, with several other money diggers, boarded at my house while they were employed in digging for a mine that they supposed had been opened and worked by the Spaniards many years since. Young Smith gave the money diggers great encouragement at first, but when they had arrived in digging to near the place where he had stated an immense treasure would be found, he said the enchantment was so powerful that he could not see. They then became discouraged, and soon after dispersed. This took place about the 17th of November, 1825, and one of the company gave me his note for $12.68 for his board, which is still unpaid. After these occurrences, young Smith made several visits at my house, and at length asked my consent to his marrying my daughter Emma. This I refused, and gave my reasons for so doing, some of which were that he was a stranger, and followed a business that I could not approve. He then left the place. Not long after this he returned, and while I was absent from home, carried off my daughter into the state of New York, where they were married without my approbation or consent. After they had arrived at Palmyra, New York, Emma wrote to me inquiring whether she could take her property, consisting of clothing, furniture, cows, etc. I replied that her property was safe and at her disposal. In a short time they returned, bringing with them a Peter and Jersall, and subsequently came to the conclusion that they would move out and reside upon a place near my residence. Smith stated to me that he had given up what he called glass-looking, and that he expected to work hard for a living and was willing to do so. He also made arrangements with my son Alva Hale to go to Palmyra and move his furniture etc. to this place. He then returned to Palmyra, and soon after, Alva, agreeable to the arrangement, went up and returned with Smith and his family. Soon after this, I was informed they had brought a wonderful book of plates down with them. I was shown a box in which it is said they were contained, which had to all appearances been used as a glass box of the common window glass. I was allowed to feel the weight of the box, and they gave me to understand that the book of plates was then in the box, into which, however, I was not allowed to look. I inquired of Joseph Smith, Jr., who was to be the first who would be allowed to see the book of plates. He said it was a young child. After this, I became dissatisfied, and informed him that if there was anything in my house of that description, which I could not be allowed to see, he must take it away. If he did not, I was determined to see it. After that, the plates were said to be hid in the woods. About this time, Martin Harris made his appearance upon the stage, and Smith began to interpret the characters or hieroglyphics, which he said were engraven upon the plates, while Harris wrote down the interpretation. He was said that Harris wrote down 116 pages and lost them. Soon after this happened, Martin Harris informed me that he must have a greater witness, and said that he had talked with Joseph about it. Joseph informed him that he could not, or durst not show him the plates, but that he would go into the woods where the book of plates was, and that after he came back, Harris should follow his track in the snow, and find the book, and examine it for himself. Harris informed me afterwards that he followed Smith's directions, and could not find the plates, and was still dissatisfied. The next day after this happened, I went to the house where Joseph Smith Jr. lived, and where he and Harris were engaged in their translation of the book. Each of them had a written piece of paper which they were comparing, and some of the words were, "My servant seeketh a greater witness, but no greater witness can be given him." There was also something said about 3 that were to see the thing, meaning, I supposed, the book of plates, and that if the 3 did not go exactly according to the orders, the thing would be taken from them. I inquired whose words they were, and was informed by Joseph or Emma, I rather think it was the former, that they were the words of Jesus Christ. I told them that I considered the whole of it a delusion, and advised them to abandon it. The manner in which he pretended to read and interpret was the same as when he looked for the money diggers, with the stone in his hat, and his hat over his face, while the book of plates were at the same time hid in the woods. After this, Martin Harris went away, and Oliver Cowdery came and wrote for Smith, while he interpreted as above described. This is the same Oliver Cowdery, whose name may be found in the Book of Mormon. Cowdery continued a scribe for Smith until the Book of Mormon was completed, as I supposed and understood. Joseph Smith Jr. resided near me for some time after this, and I had a good opportunity of becoming acquainted with him, and somewhat acquainted with his associates, and I conscientiously believe from the facts I have detailed, and from many other circumstances, which I do not deem it necessary to relate, that the whole Book of Mormon, so called, is a silly fabrication of falsehood and wickedness, got up for speculation, and with a design to dupe the credulous and unwary, and in order that its fabricators may live upon the spoils of those who swallow the deception. Isaac Hale. Affirmed to and subscribed before me, March 20, 1834. Charles Dimmen, Justice of the Peace. State of Pennsylvania, Susquehana County. We, the subscribers, Associate Judges of the Court of Common Pleas, in and for said county, do certify that we have been many years personally acquainted with Isaac Hale, of Harmony Township in this county, who has attested the foregoing statement, and that he is a man of excellent moral character, and of undoubted veracity. Witness our hands, William Thompson, Davis Dimmock.